Well, it's 2:31, and we're going to get this webinar started. So welcome to the Finance and Making the Most of PLS webinar. This is the third in a series of pre-conference webinars that we're doing for PLS. And it's the last one that we'll be doing right before our PLS. So thank you for registering and being a part of this. This will be made available on the My SMPS community. Right after this session, we'll log it and record it and put it right online. Many of you have already been a part of our webinar series, so I know you've gone through this, but I really do need to just go through a couple of the items on how to participate today. If you have, if you're new and you haven't done this before, and you have your control panel up, you'll see that there's a little orange arrow where once you click it, it'll compress and minimize, and if you click it again, it'll go ahead and expand. When it's in an expanded mode, you can go ahead and type in questions. Excuse me. You can type in questions right here based on what we're talking about. And throughout the whole session, we have Mary Cruz that is helping us look at all those questions and if there's anyone that has a hand raised. This is going to be a casual webinar, so we have an opportunity to answer your questions throughout, but we do have a lot of slides to go through today. One thing, if you haven't, again, been a part of this, you see your little yellow hand here. If you want to speak and not just ask a question and type it, if you raise your hand, Mary will go ahead and take a look to see whose hands are raised. If she sees that one of you have your hands raised, she'll unmute you, and then she'll say your name, and then we'll ask you to go ahead and pose your question. And again, if not, you simply can go ahead and type in your questions right here, and we'll monitor those and ask those questions at an appropriate time. If it's a question that is not raised or asked throughout the presentation, we will have time at the very end for Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get to them. As a reminder, we are recording this session. It will be saved in the PLS 2013 Community Library, as all the others have. And again, for those of you, maybe you're new on this, there is a prize for those of you who find the Little Ronnie. For each set of presentations that we've had, we've hidden a Little Ronnie, and Little Ronnie is simply our CEO as a little boy. You'll find a picture of him somewhere in this presentation. And this is just a fun way to make sure that all of you are taking advantage and looking at these webinars, and you're getting everything that you that you need to get, and you're reviewing all the materials. For those of you who let us know where you found the Little Ronnie in each one of the webinars, we're going to make sure that you have a fun little SMPS prize and present. And we'll most likely present those at the PLS session itself. And just to let you know, to let us know that you know where Little Ronnie is, you can just send a message to Mary at smps.org, or you can certainly send it to me as well. But we'll remind you about that at the end of the session. So let's go ahead and get started. Because we have so many slides to go through in a short period of time, many of you already know who our committee and staff are, but I'm not going to introduce every single one of them, but know that this is a team that you can count on, and you'll meet all of us at PLS itself, along with members of our board. That said, Nola, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to you.
Thank you, Tina. Hello, and we are just very excited that you are on the webinar today, and really looking forward to greeting and meeting you very, very soon in Alexandria at PLS. As an alum of the Magical Stardusters, I can just guarantee you that you are going to have an amazing 2.5 days at PLS. It is one of the most exciting, energizing events that you will attend. When you leave, you're going to be so excited and prepared to launch your year's presidency. You'll just be amazed. So I invite you to come open-minded and ready to enjoy the time there. You're going to meet great new friends, and these won't be your friends just during PLS or for the next year's presidency. These are going to be your friends for many, many years to come. So get ready. We're ready for you. Tina?
Thanks, Nola. No, this is not me. This is Antonio Payne, CPA. He's our brand new controller of SMPS. We just welcomed Antonio to the staff not even, well, maybe just over a month ago. Antonio is taking over and managing our finances, administrative procedures, and he's going to be working with all of our chapter leaders going into the future with, tax support, tax help, financials, checking accounts, questions that you have that typically might have been forwarded to me. So I cannot say this enough. I have said it many times, but I am thrilled to have Antonio on board, and he's going to get us started with this webinar today on finance. So Antonio, you want to take it from here?
Absolutely, and thank you, Tina, for that grand introduction. It's actually been 2 months. Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
But it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be able to present to you guys today. The word fiduciary, the first time I heard it, I was probably a child, and I probably saw that word in a commercial about a bank, and never gave the word very much thought until about 15 years ago. The word started to have a bit further reach in terms of the business world, but not just the business world. One of the things that I would do whenever I would hear a word that I didn't know the definition of, I would ask my mom what it meant. And of course, she being the great mother she is, she would say, look it up. And so that's exactly what we did for you guys today. And so the first two definitions in the dictionary for fiduciary are: 1, a person to whom property or power is entrusted for the benefit of another, or 2, of, based, or in the nature of trust and confidence, as in public affairs. And I realize I'm preaching to the choir here, but it goes without saying that you guys as officers in SMPS are fiduciaries. And it is on that basis that we'll present the your kind of do's and don'ts as it relates to finance for SMPS. Okay, these are the things you must do. We had some debate about whether this was Uncle Sam or not pointing to you, but we'll highlight some of the things that are essential duties for you guys in the area of finance. The very first must-do is to find and read your bylaws, and that is a must-do right now, yesterday, or as soon as you can get your hands on them. And I will let Tina kind of go into that a little bit before I continue my presentation.
Okay. Bylaws. We have many questions from our chapter leaders, from our presidents, current volunteers, secretaries, and of course incoming presidents about bylaws. Just a couple of things to make sure that you're well aware of now, and we will explore this more during PLS as well. But what you need to know about your bylaws primarily is that these are a set of promises that you make to your members for the most part on how you're going to operate and manage your organization, your chapter. It's important, and I cannot stress this enough, that if you haven't already done so, that you immediately go to your set of bylaws. If you don't know where they are, I promise you I most likely have a copy here at the office. But you need to go through your bylaws. You need to read through them. You don't need to read through just a couple of paragraphs. You need to read every word, because what you may find is that through your bylaws, there are things in there that are stated on how you're going to operate, how many directors you have, who is on your executive committee, and even who you can bring in as a member of the board and under what circumstance. It may even tell you exactly what to do in the event that you need to maybe remove a member of the board. There are a lot of things in there that I think that some of our leaders just don't understand, and when it says make mistakes and struggle needlessly, if you don't read these bylaws, you just might be surprised that there's already, points in place of how you need to operate that you might not have thought were there already. And as you go through these two other things to pay attention to before I give this back to Antonio. Is that there are a couple of sections in the bylaws that you absolutely cannot and may not change. And that's as it relates to membership, the status, and the qualifications. Those are directed by the SMPS National Headquarters, and you cannot change those. Only we can change those by the direction of the board and then by a vote of our members, our entire membership. So if you find that, oh, well, I want to add another classification or something like that, it's not going to happen. That has to be done at headquarters level and through our board of directors. The other thing that you need to pay attention to within your bylaws is really paying attention to how many directors that it states are on your board in the qualifications. I can tell you that we have many chapters who say, you know, just in a breath, oh, we have 17 members on our board, but their bylaws might actually state and direct that there really are only 7. And maybe what they've been doing is operating in a way that volunteers have just been going to board members, and assumptions have been made that they are voting members of the board. Again, there are a lot of things to go through, and this one slide is not going to give us enough time, but we will talk about this more and expand the conversation during PLS. But understand, it is very important to read your bylaws and understand the importance that they play in operating your chapter. So that said, I'm going to give it right back to you, Antonio.
Thank you. And just to piggyback on what Tina said as it relates to your bylaws, I would simply suggest that you not be do-it-yourself guy. And do-it-yourself guy is the guy, we all know him. He's the husband who has to put the crib together for the brand new baby. He takes the crib and all the directions out of the box, and he tosses the directions. And he puts together what looks like a beautifully constructed crib. And his wife walks in the door, and he has a bag full of screws in his hand. So it's no wonder why that husband is sleeping elsewhere while the baby and mom are sleeping in his bed. Do not be do-it-yourself, guys. Please find and read your bylaws.
Okay, well said.
All right. Must-do item number 2. And there are a number of things that we're going to tell you guys you must do. I would say that those are segregated into 3 levels, organizational being the first, state being the second, and federal being the third. This particular must-do is a state requirement. It is an annual requirement. It does not take long to complete. The reporting deadline varies by state, and you should contact your state. The list of state websites is available from SMPS headquarters. You should feel more than happy to use the website, but if you cannot find any information on the website, I'm happy to give it to you. The third must-do, I would say, is an organizational requirement, and that is the finance report. This finance report is basically a physical snapshot of the organization at the chapter level. We use it in order to be in a better position to understand each chapter and to help you guys help yourselves in terms of maybe highlighting what challenges might arise. This information is yours. We do not use it or share it, I should say, without your permission. Although much of the information is because we are a tax-exempt entity available to the public at the public's request, but we do not personally share your information without your permission. This is just a sample of what the finance report looks like. It includes information about your income and expenses, budget to actual, information about your educational programs, your sources of revenue, what your reserves might be, whether or not you're receiving an independent audit or not, and what type of federal requirement you are under in terms of filing a tax return. Education report. This is the second organizational requirement. This is a report that allows us to, in detail and in one place, gather information about all the educational events that a chapter puts on in a given year. Details of the report include the type of education by domain, type of program, whether it's a lecture, seminar, workshop, or special event, who attended, how much we charged, and how well the event was received in terms of how it was evaluated. We consolidate all of this information into one large report, and it can be a valuable resource to you guys. That report for last year will be available to you guys at PLS, so it's something to look forward to. Due dates for both of these reports are September 30th. This is just a little bit of housekeeping. If you do not submit your reports to us in a timely fashion, you get a whack on the wrist. Tina tells me that in her time we have not really had to use this as a deterrent. Most of the chapters have been extremely cooperative in getting those reports to us in a timely fashion. But September 30th is the date for both reports. How the reports are used, we just kind of highlighted that to you guys. If you have questions about it, we're happy to answer them. Essentially, again, it's just we are fiduciaries for you guys, and so yeah, it helps us be able to help you perhaps improve our efficiency and our programs.
Antonio?
Yes.
I have a quick question from one of the attendees, Lynn. She just mentioned going back to the must-dos. Do these must-dos apply to the 2013-14 year and actually begin after 9/1/2013?
These must-dos actually apply for the, we're talking 2012 to 2013 year. So in the case of the finance report and education reports, those are due September 30th of 13. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Must-do number 5 is your first federal requirement, and that is the Form 990. This is an organizational, this is an informational return versus a tax return, which simply means that the IRS is gathering information not for the purposes of charging us a tax. So there will be no tax liability associated with this return. It's informational in nature. The due date for your 2012-2013 tax return would be January 15th of 2014. And the form requirements vary, and it's based on your annual gross receipts. If your annual gross receipts are less than $25,000, then you would file the 990N. If they are between $25,000 and $200,000, you file the 990EZ. And anything above $200,000 is the 990. This is the age of information, and information is available almost anywhere. We have this information available to you guys and for you guys on our website, but it's also available on the IRS website as well. Anytime you guys are having any trouble finding it, I say again, I am a willing resource for you, but it's basically a how-to guide for how to fill out forms. Must-do item number 6 are your federal Form 1099s. Your 1099 miscellaneous income is something that for each person to whom you have paid during the year, $600 in aggregate, you have to give them a Form 1099. And what I would suggest is that, and we probably should have included this in the slide, we will for PLS. What you guys should do is ask each vendor that you are involved with to complete a Form W-9 before you pay them. That W-9 simply identifies what type of entity they are for the purposes of whether they're eligible to receive and required to receive a 1099 or not. Individuals receive 1099s, not corporations, as a general rule. So any individual, again, that you're paying, and this could be a speaker, facilitator for a webinar, just to name a couple of types of examples. But there are penalties associated with those if you're not sent them to the individuals by January 31st. There is a separate deadline for a complete reporting of all the 1099s that you filed for the year that's due to the IRS on February 28th. This is a sample of what the 1099 looks like. The payer is us, so the chapter name, information about the chapter. We are the payer, so whatever your tax identification number is will go in that particular column. The recipient's ID number, which is either their tax ID number or their Social Security number, their name and address. And typically, all payments associated with that particular 1099 in aggregate go in that column number 7, which is for non-employee compensation. Charitable contributions. We are not a charity. We are a tax-exempt entity, but we are not a charity. And for that reason, we need to include an IRS notice on solicitation on any of our invoices. That's always, and there is a severe penalty from any time we omit that particular disclaimer. And here's what the disclaimer looks like. All payments and contributions to SMPS, the chapter name, are not tax deductible as charitable contributions for income tax purposes, but they may be deductible as business expenses under provisions of the Internal Revenue. And just as fiduciaries, we're letting the person know that this is not what we are. So if they are, this basically gets us off the hook if they try to claim it as a charitable deduction.
Antonio, this is Tina. I just want to say one thing here. I know that there's a lot of information that's being put in front of you right now. Please do not feel like you have to take extensive notes on any of this. It will all be made available to you at PLS. We will be putting this on your flash drive. We will be putting this made available to you through all the manuals and the sections of the manual. So this is for your information to get you familiar with all of this right now, but don't feel that you have to write this all down and print this all out. It will all be given to you at PLS, and certainly throughout the year it will be available to you as well.
Indeed, and we will certainly go into more detail than what we have here at PLS. In terms of must-do number 8, special events insurance. You should consider obtaining special events insurance anytime you hold an event that extends beyond what we'll call normal chapter business. Many businesses require you to have that type of insurance coverage in order to work with you. But even in the case where that's not the case, I would suggest that you guys look into it. And the reason is that there's no protection from liability if you don't have that kind of insurance. And you never know, you don't need insurance, of course, until you don't have it. So we would certainly encourage you guys to look at special events insurance anytime you're doing anything outside normal business. And the last thing I have for you is a shameless plug, and that's register your president-elect for PLS 2014. It's a little early to register. We encourage you guys to get it on your calendar, be thinking about it, because you'll miss an awesome event if you don't. And with that, I will give it back to Tina.
Great. Well, thank you. That was great information, Antonio. So next on our list, it is my pleasure to introduce Kate Mullaney, who is the Director of Business Development at Cotter Consultant, and she is the SMPS Chicago President, and Jason Vesuvio, who is the Vice President, Marketing and Business Development, Alana Construction Consultants, and he is the SMPS New York President. I cannot think of two individuals who can talk to the advantages and to the great experience of PLS more than Kate and Jason. So thank you guys for being a part of this, and I'm going to go ahead and give it to you.
Thanks, Tina. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Jason and I are so happy to share our PLS experience, and thanks for the introduction, Tina. It was really an amazing and valuable experience for us. Before I went, I was pretty anxious. And I'm a pretty outgoing person, but I was a little uncertain about what to expect. There was really no hard agenda before we went, and so I'm a person who likes to know every detail down to the minute. And I wondered, who are all these people? And gosh, 3 days out of the office, and I have a new job. Can I really afford that? And well, I've been on the board for a few years. What more can they tell me? Well, the answer is yeah, they can tell you a lot, like a lot. And so can your peers who are doing different things in different chapters. And your SMPS role will get a little bit bigger at PLS, and being there together in person will really make a difference. So it struck me first with how prepared and welcoming the committee and SMPS staff were. It was almost like it was Christmas morning vibe going on there when, oh my gosh, the new PLS class is arriving, and they're really going to be there for you as you move through your presidency. Our president at the time in Chicago, Matt Reber, told me, don't worry, you'll find your people. And he was right, but he went further and suggested that I reach out to other large chapter presidents or incoming presidents in advance and start a conversation and plan to sit down with 1 or 2 of them while we were there, see what we could learn from each other. And I had already met Rebecca from Boston, so I reached out to Kathy Cliver, Jason DeSuvio in New York, and Jason can tell you a little bit about that and how his pathway to president came to be. But we emailed in advance, met, and little did I know at the time that we'd end up being BFFs and helping each other all along the way.
Well, thanks, Kate. And I could not have imagined I'd meet such a kindred spirit and partner in crime and actually HBDI compliment. But you know what? I've said too much, and I'm getting ahead of myself. But very, very quickly, I actually came to PLS very late in the game. And just the reason I mention this is while we're sharing our experiences, I thought it would be helpful for all of you presidents-elect to kind of look through that lens as I talk about some of these things and these experiences. So the short version is my good buddy Kathy Cliver was president-elect at the time, had a really fun life change in moving to Bahrain for a couple of years. So she called me up about somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks before PLS and was like, hey, look, this thing that you thought was happening next year where you're going to be president-elect is happening right now. The board wants you to take over. Can you get your stuff together and go to PLS? So I talked it over with the owner of my company. After I picked her up off the floor, I was able to get my stuff together, so to speak. So that's kind of my quick story. It's my path to presidency, as Kate called it. So so on to our experiences. So Katie, dear, what are the things of value that we learned or experienced that we can pass on to these fine folks?
Well, my advice to anyone going now that I know would be just embrace the uncertainty. You won't know everything until you get there, but it will be a great experience and just trust in that. Everyone in our class, we call ourselves the P3s, you'll get your own name, wants to go back. So it just has to be a magical, special place. So you just trust in that. It'll be great. Do what you can to prepare to make the most of it. You're hearing a lot on these webinars, especially this one about preparing for PLS. But just remember, your chapters are sending you to ensure that you get the guidance that you need to guide them through the rest of the year. So my suggestion would be maybe sit down with your president, other board members, other members just in your chapter, and ask them what they think the most important issues based on your individual chapters are. And when you're there, then try and gather that information and bring back some insider ideas that address what the rest of your team is thinking. There's not going to be any shortage of time to ask and collaborate with others. And by all means, take the HBDI profile ahead of time and be prepared because it really makes you more self-aware, which is a great quality in a leader.
Yeah, you're totally right, Kate. Definitely take the time to complete it. It's more than just a personality profile a la Myers-Briggs. It's really a tool that will help you understand how minds work based upon behavior, just to kind of make it short. And it's something that I now use every day, whether with my board or my coworkers, and definitely in my personal life. And although this is kind of a cliche these days, I will say that it may be a real game changer for everyone too. So completing it now will make a huge difference during the workshops later during PLS.
Yeah, and it can confirm what you already know about yourself, or it could be very eye-opening. But it teaches you critical things about communicating with other people. Leading a board and a chapter is really about other people. There's so many other people that you have to work with, and they're all going to be different than you. So the working relationships you have with them are usually the highs and lows of everything we do. This will give you some tools to communicate in a more effective way. And then just be open and share your ideas, because the best ideas might be the ones actually happening in your own chapter. And sharing and collaboration just raises everybody's game. And we have you've heard sharing is caring, but I would say that that's also what bonded our class, because we shared, which meant we're here to help you, and voila, we had this like instant love and trust with each other.
Yeah, PLS really is a big share. And there's also no shame in stealing great ideas if it means success for SMPS and providing better value to your members at the chapter level. I always like to remember what Picasso said in these instances: good artists copy, great artists steal. So having said that, you may even want to consider some big picture ideas for your strategic plan or chapter retreat, and using some of the successes of your fellow presidents-elect to kind of help you attain your own chapter goals.
Oh, and on the more practical side, bring a notebook or shop for one before you go to take notes in that you'll be able to keep the whole year. So I'd say make it sturdy and make it portable, because mine's pretty dog-eared. I didn't think quite ahead. So a little practical advice. You want to be able to look back to all the notes and ideas that'll bring you inspiration along the way.
Yeah, a notebook is such a great idea. I have one too. It's also red, which is my company color, so secretly it looks like I'm doing firm work when I have it, but I digress. But also there's a lot, there's going to be a lot going on at PLS, and a lot of information coming at you, and I think Tina kind of hit on that just a few minutes ago. So for those of you who've been on these calls, maybe just do yourself a favor and review any information that you've taken down one more time before PLS on the train or on the plane, however you're getting there. And while a lot of what you've learned on the webinars will be detailed again during PLS, it can still feel like information overload. So I really suggest reviewing prior to PLS and then taking some notes during the modules when you're there so you can use them throughout your term. And then all of this together will really help you during your chapter retreat and strategic planning session again, and then once your term begins. And actually, that reminds me of another experience and real eye-opener that I had at PLS, which was national staff. Yes, this is kind of the butt-kissing portion of the presentation. My goodness, they are phenomenal. Yes, please, I'll talk a little slower. My goodness, they are phenomenal. So if you don't know this by the time PLS begins, you are surely going to know afterwards, as I did, how amazing national staff is. So I suggest just connecting with each of them at PLS, and also realize with all this information and all these responsibilities that are coming at you, they're there to assist and support you, and they really do it gladly.
That's a good word, Jason. I mean, connecting to national staff, but connecting to your incoming class, you're going to find your people, as Rebo told me, but just realize that everyone in your incoming class, the national staff, the national board, your own board, all those people are your people. So get connected early through social media or the My SMPS PLS listserv, and then stay connected afterwards.
Yeah, for as informational and professional as PLS is, it's also an amazing social experience. So if you're having any level of anxiety about meeting so many new people at once, don't worry, just remember what Rebro said to Kate. But I also recommend actually looking through the profiles in your yearbook.
Yep.
There's a lot of good stuff in there, and it will give you a little bit of a head start on meeting everyone. For example, I saw that Rob Norton, who's the president now at Southeast Louisiana chapter, played bass in 2 bands, and I immediately wanted to meet that guy. So this is your support system and your place for big and small shares via several platforms, and it definitely doesn't end with PLS.
Right. I mentioned a couple of the tools, the PLS community and My SMPS or social media, but afterwards, just picking up the phone later, or gosh, you feel like Jason and I just plan to meet up with our West Coast people at a regional conference. So sure, just head out to Portland. Why not? Let's have a little reunion midterm. But becoming part of this club that is inclusive and not exclusive has really been a network that's provided support and enthusiasm, sometimes consolation and empathy. And now we're all really seriously friends. So get yourself also to National in Orlando by hook or by crook. Try to combine it with a family vacation or whatever it takes, whether your chapters can support you going, whether your firms can support you going. Try to get that planned, because by July, trust me, you're going to be missing all these wonderful people that you're about to meet, and you'll be eager to reconnect.
Yeah, and when you're planning for Alexandria itself, make a point to experience the 2.5 days with your class. Not just the sessions, but also the dinners, the after-hours fun, and so on, like the real bonding stuff. So I suggest going a day early or even plan for the weekend after PLS to see any of the sites, and take real advantage of this particular time, trust me.
Oh, and for the ladies, Alexandria is all cobblestone. Heels do not work well, which I realized once I got there. So while you're backing, think wedges or flats. That will be a help.
Yeah, for the guys, I really don't have any footwear advice, but there are like 1 or 2 really good cigar shops on their way down to the waterfront, so definitely check those out. But before we wrap up, I just want to add one more thing for everyone, that while you have several months before your terms begin, you should understand that the spotlight is actually turning toward you, which is a really good thing, and embrace this as well. And be ready to pass all of this, plus your own PLS experiences, onto your president-elect. So really start thinking ahead. And also share that information with national staff and the PLS committee. And I think these types of practices will only make our society and your chapter and PLS as a training tool itself better and better. So, Kate, is there anything else?
Well, maybe just one thing, which everyone will understand a little bit better once you're there. But buy a T-shirt when you're at Murphy's. You won't regret it, and maybe but you might want to resist the urge to get up on stage because you might actually regret that. So, Jason and I just wanted to thank everyone for hearing our personal story, and thank you guys for inviting us to be part of this. And turn it back over to you.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, well, I think I am speechless. Clearly, we got the best people to take care of this and have this conversation. You guys, we need to put you on the road, I think. But I cannot thank you enough, Kate and Jason. Really, that's the essence of what we're trying to get across, and I think you delivered it very well. And I hope all of you listening truly take their examples and their ideas and their thoughts to heart, because they are dead on. So thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
So now I'm going to hand this over to Nola Nasser, our past chair of PLS.
Hey, thank you. And I got to say, Kate and Jason, you're awesome. I'm so proud to have been your leader. Mwah, you guys make me proud. And I also want to let people listening, those of us that are on the webinar today, let you know that Andrew, your leader this year, and I met at PLS 2008. I was from Chicago. He was from New York. And we just happened to connect, and you see where that's led. Here we are involved in the planning and the presentation of PLS. So just be prepared, because you never know what's going to happen because of your PLS experience. It's all good things. And quite frankly, thanks, Kate and Jason. You've covered a lot of things that I wanted to cover, and you did it so very, very well. So thank you very much. I just want to let you know that we have, your committee, we spent the last 10 months preparing and your program and everything that's going to happen in the next 2.5 days when you come to PLS. And now it's your turn to prepare. So I want to say that right now we have 53 chapters who are registered, which is an awesome number to have. And we are really excited because for the first time in PLS history, we will be having someone from the Ontario, Canada chapter with us, and that is really, really exciting. So it's going to be really a good time, and I know that you're going to just meet some great people. So thank you for registering and your promptness, and I know national staff thanks you too. Now, if you haven't made your hotel reservation, that really should be at the top of your list along with how you're going to get there. I can tell you that the Hotel Monaco is a very, very special hotel, and it's really nice that our sessions are also there. They're very accommodating. And if there are any of you that have four-legged friends that you are going to be missing terribly because you're going to be leaving them at home, well, the Hotel Monaco is pet-friendly. And not only is it pet-friendly, but on one of the evenings while we are all there, they host a yappy hour in the afternoon. So you'll be able to interact with your little furry friends even though you're away from yours at home. So please make sure that you make your hotel reservation promptly. Now, as Kate and Jason said, there is a very important part of PLS that begins ahead of time, and that's with the HBDI assessments, modules 1 through 3. This is something that we initiated last year for the 2012 class, and it really turned out to be a very insightful, interesting, helpful tool that while we've all taken other tests and other personality tests, this one really is different. It's a different mix. And when GraceWorks presents their Marketing with Your Whole Brain program on Saturday morning, this is a critical part of their presentation. And you'll be given your analysis, and we have the opportunity to match those up with other people that we've become acquainted with over the last 2.5 days. And it's just fascinating to see the assessment of somebody that you spent 2 days with and you thought for sure that you had this all figured out about how you would connect with them, to find out that really it worked a little differently. So I really encourage you, please do that. Get it done quickly so that you'll have everything in place for this important part of PLS. And then there is your photo and your yearbook profile. As Kate and Jason have already talked about, this is really fun. It's a useful tool and it's a fun tool. And a week to a week and a half before PLS, you'll be receiving an email with a PDF copy of the yearbook. That's your time to go through and look for people with life-size chapters, or all of a sudden, as Jason said, you find somebody that does something really interesting that you've always wanted to do, and it's time to start highlighting and saying, okay, I want to make sure I connect with this person like right away. And so make use of that tool. When you get to PLS and you receive your packet, there will be a hard copy of the yearbook in place, as well as the fact that this will be logged into your My SMPS community site, and that will always be available at your fingertips. So please, make sure if you haven't done your photo, you haven't done your profile yet, please do that as quickly as you can, because it's very important, and you're going to find it just a great, great tool to have. And then we want to talk about your ideas. I think Jason and Kate covered this beautifully. All these great things that you want to know about, or you want to know how other chapters do, or we did this and it was really fun, or it worked really, really well. This is the time to do all of that. And as Jason said, there's nothing wrong with borrowing or stealing somebody else's idea, because why recreate the wheel? So by all means, please take advantage of this. Please bring these ideas. And it's a good idea, as Kate said, to have a notebook and write these things down before you come to PLS, because when you get there, there's a lot going on. And it's so easy to forget about, oh, I wanted to check on this, or I wanted to mention this. And so write these down so that you've got them handy, and pack them in your suitcase and bring them with you. And I know a lot of you already have been into the My SMPS community for your class of 2013. This is a wonderful resource. It is the best thing. We started this last year again for 2012. They were kind of our class to try some great new things. And this has been a wonderful resource. This is not a resource just for PLS and for the year that you are president. This is your resource for forever. I know that our class, Andrews and I, we have a resource that's ours. So this doesn't go away at the end of PLS. It's going to be yours now and forward. And there's already information about PLS that's been placed there. Everything that is presented at PLS will be put in the library, and then that will continue to be a resource afterwards. So by all means, if you haven't logged in, if you haven't participated in that yet, please do so. If you need some assistance with that and you're having difficulty getting in, please contact either Mary or Tina. They will definitely help you with that. And for those of you who are our Facebook folks, we have our Facebook SMPS President's Class 2013 site. Again, please go in, log in. If you need help, see Mary or Tina. They would be glad to work with you. And what's not on here is that we do have our resident Twitter person, and that is Holly Bolton. And I'm sure Holly is a name. She's like a household name. Everybody knows Holly. And Holly has been tweeting. She's going to continue to do so. And we encourage you to tweet during PLS also. We want to see that. And you'll know that you'll notice that in your yearbook profile, you had the opportunity to put in your Twitter handle. So please, by all means, use Twitter, use social media. It's there. We've given it to you, and we want you to use this. And I just want to tell you that I can't wait to meet you all. This is going to be so much fun. We work you very hard during the day, but we also have time to play at night. And that's all I'm going to tell you. And with that, Tina, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Okay. So let's talk about what we're going to do during the conference, and I'm going to just take one slide right here. And I have to laugh because one of these items I put at the very last minute, and that was about casual dress, and apparently there's an importance on your footwear. Because if you've ever been, and as Kate said, if you've ever been to Old Town Alexandria, and you're a woman who likes high heel shoes like I do, wearing them on cobblestone and bricks is not fun. So if you've never been here, you wouldn't know that. So this is important, women. So men, if you wear high heels, don't bring them either. Wear some nice, flat, comfortable shoes. So there you go. So if you don't have anything, you know what to wear when you're on your feet. So I am not going to go through this entire schedule. You have your program. You know the things we're going to be talking about, but just a couple of things to highlight as you're here and to pay attention to during the time that we have the program put together. It is going to be a busy schedule. It's a 2.5-day program that has all kinds of things already outlined for you, so there's not a lot of time for breaks. But as Nola said, there's a lot of information, but there's a lot of time in here that we've scheduled for you to have fun. A couple of questions that we get, and I just want to make sure that they're highlighted for you, are about food, when you're going to be fed, and if you need to go out to breakfast, that type of thing. So I just want to make sure we've highlighted those things. The first thing, though, before we talk about that is to make sure that if you aren't already aware, presidents-elect get to take the CPSN exam for free, and we offer the written exam during PLS. We already have about 4 individuals who are scheduled to take the exam on Thursday morning. If you're an individual who is interested and you haven't yet done so, just contact Kevin Doyle at the headquarters office and he'll help you through this. But even if you're not able to take it during PLS, for the year in the duration that you're president-elect, you still are able to take that exam for free. This is something that we've extended for several years now because of the importance that we place on it, especially for all of you. So if you have any questions, just contact Kevin Doyle, and again, he's more than happy to help you with that. When you come in on Thursday, our program begins early. It starts at noon. Many of you might not have had a chance to have anything to eat, maybe on the plane. So we have some box lunches for you available right before you get there, and it'll be you'll see where they're located. It's just right beside the main rooms that we'll be having the program, and we'll let you know more about that when you actually register, and we give you the materials for the day and for the next couple of days. After we go through all the programs that day, we are going to have a really fun reception and group dinner at the Fish Market. This is a great way, again, for all of you to kind of connect, get to know one another. The board will be there, staff will be there, and it really is a fun place to get together and to eat. And it's only a couple of blocks away from the hotel, so we'll be walking there. We will have breakfast on both mornings, so it's a full breakfast, so you don't have to worry about going out and rushing and getting anything beforehand. And there's going to be, Nola, plenty of coffee available for everybody throughout the entire duration of the program. Just want to throw that out there. That evening on Friday, we have an open house at the SMPS headquarters, which is directly across the street from the Hotel Monaco. So we hope that you're going to have fun with this, get to see where we're working. The staff will be here, the board will be here, again, the committee members, PLS, and all of you. So we'll have some wine, some beer, some appetizers. And again, it's really just a fun way for all of us to get to know one another and really get to just kind of see how it operates here. And then after the open house, dinner is on your own. We will have a restaurant roundup. We have about 5 restaurants right now with a variety of reservations for about 5 or 6 people. And if you don't want to do that and you have a group that wants to go somewhere else and you want to venture off, then you're certainly free to do so. And then Saturday morning, of course, we'll have breakfast again. It's a half day, and we're expected to wrap up around noontime. And just one other thing, if you're wondering again about your dress other than your shoes, the weather should be beautiful this time of year, right around the end of April. So I went online, and it's actually expected to be around 68 if we look at historical weather forecasts. So that's kind of it for the schedule and things to pay attention to. And then I'm going to give it right back to Andrew.
Thank you, Tina. Can you all hear me?
Sure. Yes.
Excellent. So thank you, and hello, everybody. Just want to say, Jason and Kate, I love you guys, but you totally stole my thunder.
I know, Andrew.
Will you go talk about shoes too?
Totally stole my thunder and a little bit of Nola's thunder, but that's okay.
Yep. You did a good job, Andrew.
I am going to go through some things, and some of it will be repetitive, but it definitely bears repeating. So first of all, I want to say 4 weeks to go and counting. So get psyched, everybody. I'm going to start talking to you about things to keep in mind during the conference. And as you all know, and as you've heard, there's going to be a lot of information and just a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of a whirlwind for 2.5 days, but definitely in a good way. So first thing I want to tell you is try to talk to as many of your peers as possible. You want to try to meet everyone. And I know that that sounds daunting, but we're making it easy for you. You're going to be sitting in lots of different sessions and workshops and roundtables with each other. We are going to have you change seats periodically. So it's kind of like a speed dating, and you're all in the same boat. So it's a lot of fun. And you will walk out of this with 50+ new best friends. We want you to engage during the discussions. So again, during these roundtable discussions, definitely bring your questions and ask them. Talk to each other, share your challenges, share your issues, and share your ideas. And speaking of share, if you have some great pieces that you've developed as a chapter, a postcard, a handout, a giveaway, bring samples to PLS, because we'd love to share those ideas with each other and love to quote-unquote steal from each other, but definitely in a good way. Talking about unplugging from work, we know this can be difficult. We know that life definitely does not stop while you're at PLS, but we want you to do your best to unplug so you guys can focus on all that's going on during these 2.5 days. During the breaks, you'll be able to, make phone calls and do what you need to do, but definitely keep yourself tuned in and focused as best you can during each of the sessions. And last but not least, of course, have fun. It's always so much fun for those of us on the committee and the board and staff, and of course for all of you. It's not all information all the time, as has been mentioned a few times. We definitely keep it exciting, and we're definitely looking to keep you engaged. And so having fun is a big part of it. Now I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about what to do after you get home. This is probably one of the most important pieces of information that we can share with you. We often hear from board members and from chapter leaders after PLS. For example, I'm in membership and I never saw the manual, or I didn't even know there was a manual. And so we know when you get back from PLS, you have to jump right back into work, and you're playing catch up. But it is really important and vital that you share the information you obtain with the rest of your team. So you want to organize your notes from PLS when you get back or soon after. You want to meet with your team and debrief them on what you've learned while it's still fresh. If you want to create an outline or create a quick PowerPoint, whatever format suits you best. You want to share chapter manuals with your team. So particularly the pieces of the manuals that we've been talking about on these webinars and that you'll see more of at PLS, you want to put them directly in the hands of each of your leaders, because you're actually helping arm them for their year. And of course, just a note that we continue to mention, you don't need to take frantic notes during PLS, because all of this information and more is going to be available in the manuals on your flash drive in many different ways. And then lastly, you want to prepare for your strategic planning meeting and your summer planning session. And these are two very important but also very separate meetings. We're going to talk more about the strategic planning session at PLS. We have a special session just on that. This is vital to your chapter success. And we talked about this during the first webinar, but this narrows down your goals. It will help you decide on how you're going to service your members, who's responsible for each of the goals, and then you're going to set deadlines and time frames. So again, we're going to be covering that in more detail at PLS. The summer planning session is it's a separate meeting, and it's more about the programming for the coming year. So you shouldn't think of these two meetings as one and the same. They are definitely two separate meetings. If you guys can go to the next slide, great. Again, when you get home, stay connected. We can't emphasize this enough, and we have the platforms for it. We have My SMPS, which you've seen kind of acts like a listserv, so you can speak with each other and email each other just the class. And we have the Facebook page, and I will tell you, from experience from seeing the P3s, Jason and Kate. Their class was sort of the inaugural class to have a Facebook page, and it's been tremendous. They're posting on this Facebook page every day. They're sharing their challenges, they're sharing their successes, they're joking around a bit. They post pictures about when they've had various P3 reunions at different regional conferences throughout the year, so it's just been very cool. So I highly recommend it that you keep that up. And then I also want to mention that you should continue to reach out to your national staff and board, and of course those of us on the PLS committee, but particularly the staff and the board. These folks are an amazing resource, and as Jason mentioned, you will come to know this during PLS if you don't know it already. And so I just have a couple of parting words that I want to leave you with before I close. Those of us who chair the PLS committee, Nola and Dawn and myself and past chairs, we've been in your shoes. And same with the folks who are on the national board who are on the PLS committee, Brad and Holly. We've been in your shoes. We've been chapter presidents. We've been at PLS as an incoming chapter president. So we know, what you're thinking about. We have the same apprehension that you guys have. And so all of the programs and all of the activities that we put together are with all of that in mind. Again, we're 4 weeks away. I'm going to keep the countdown going as we get closer. PLS is definitely going to be one of the highlights of your experience as a chapter president. So I hope you're all looking forward to it. It's going to be just as good, just as fun, just as informative as you've heard from your past presidents. I want to recommend that you capture the nuggets. This is something that I say often. When you're sitting in these sessions and the roundtable discussions and when we have the workshops, a lot of stuff is going to be thrown at you, and some of it applies and some of it doesn't. But when you hear something that you want to act on, don't forget to capture it. Don't forget to write it down. And lastly, this is your opportunity to gain a nationwide network, and maybe for some of you for the first time. So that's certainly a valuable asset to you and your firm. So that's really all I have for today. I can't wait to see you guys in April. I'm very excited. I hope you are too. And I'm going to turn it back over to Tina now for some Q&A.
Thank you, Andrew. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Mary to see if there are any hands raised or any questions that we haven't addressed yet.
There was a question back to Antonio in the finance. Tina, I've been answering some questions through text, so I'm not sure if you have as well. But there was a question, Antonio, about that we are tax exempt, so we shouldn't be paying sales tax for our events, services, etc. Question. So if you can.
Very good question. And maybe that's a slide for next time. The answer to that is we are tax exempt in the normal course of business. We are not exempt from sales tax.
And there is more information on that specific issue in the finance section of the chapter manual. Every year that's going to be updated, and Antonio will update anything that's relevant to that section as well, and that will be available to you at PLS.
Good. And there was one more question that it came about insurance. Again, I know some of these will be answered at PLS, but since they were posed here, would a hard hat tour be considered a special event that would need insurance?
I'm sorry, would a what?
A hard hat tour.
A hard hat tour?
Yes, and some of these things, like I know some of our insurance, SMPS National has liability coverage for the chapters, and so your typical events and meetings are certainly covered. It's special events that include like a ski trip or going out on a dinner cruise, things like that. You will need additional insurance coverage for, and it's simply just filling out a certificate and sending it into Novak, our insurance group, and it may be a nominal fee of maybe $100, $150. And I'm not sure. I know a lot of our chapters do hard hat tours, but I can certainly check with Novak to make sure, unless you know, Tina, if they should be filling out that special certificate or of insurance form.
You're right. I think that we know that other chapters have had those type of hard hat tours, and I would suggest that you most likely will need to have that special event insurance. But as Mary said, the fees are typically nominal. Novik and our representative, Karen Beard, is the individual who will help you through that, and we even have some recommendations of other insurance agents that might be able to help you too. Again, all of that is listed with the contact information in the chapter manual, and we do have the forms, and those will all be available to you as well. So I would suggest that if you're planning that's one of the first things that you start taking a look at and to see what those requirements are. And if you have more questions, you can just either call Mary or me or even or Antonio, and we can get you started in the right place. And Mary, I think that there is a hand raised.
Okay, let me just get in. I don't see one.
Okay. It was a Juanita Martinez, but she took it down, so she might not want to. She might not have a question any longer.
Okay. And one of the other questions was just she had mentioned about, and that might have been because you went over the schedule, but was there a gathering on Wednesday evening? And I just suggested that there was not a gathering, but certainly to start posting, like Andrew said, on the Facebook page to find out who's coming in a little bit earlier, and you know, looking at, and we can certainly send ahead of time post on Facebook as well, some cool places to eat at right near the hotel for you guys, and maybe you can pick one of those if there's about, you know, a handful of you coming in on Wednesday that you could meet up ahead of time.
Hey, Mary.
Great idea.
I just want to add to that.
Sure.
That Wednesday night last year, I recall that there were a bunch of folks that did get together in the bar at the hotel. It was very impromptu, and it was just real casual, but it was a great way for those folks who were, you know, coming in early to have a chance to start to mingle with each other.
Right.
Yeah, and they have a great, it is a really good restaurant too, right down there where the bar is. So it's worth checking out, Jackson 20, if you want to look at the menus ahead of time. And there was one question, Michelle Yates, I went ahead and unmuted you. You had a question about, does this include sponsorships? I think that goes back to Antonio, but if you want to elaborate on your question, Michelle, I did unmute you. Michelle? Okay, she had just mentioned, does this include sponsorships? I'm not quite sure. We might need a little bit more. She wanted me to ask the question again. She just sent another message. So we'll elaborate on that following this call. I'll make sure to get the answer for you and get that out to you.
Perfect. Well, if
I'm sorry, I got one more.
Okay, that's okay.
Patricia actually had a really cool idea about creating a Instagram under the hashtag SMPS PLS 213 class so that pictures can be captured and shared during the event, before, during, and after through Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and I know Jason as well has thrown us some really cool ideas with Pinterest and creating like a secret board. So I know. So we're going to be looking at really trying to get that done this week so that we can have some of these things for you guys. And I think the Instagram is a great idea too, Patricia. So thanks for sharing that.
That's a great idea.
And that's it, Tina. I don't see any other hands raised or any other questions right now.
Okay. Well, with that, and if you do have any other questions that weren't addressed or you're just thinking about a little bit later, just go ahead and send us a message, and we'll make sure that that your questions are answered before PLS. And so now I think I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Brad Thurman, who is our SMPS President-elect, to wrap up this session. Brad? Hello?
What was that?
I don't know, but it sounded lovely.
I know. Well, holy cow. Well, I just wanted to tag on to what everybody else said, and I want to say thanks to Kate and Jason for chiming in and giving us some background on their experience with PLS. And to kind of tag on to what Andrew said, you know, this is a relationship-driven business, and the great thing about PLS, what we want you to get out of it at the end is the kinship and the friendships that come out of it. I mean, of course, we want you to bond as a class and to have friendships that carry you through your presidential year. But really what we hope you make out of it is friends that will, help you through your careers and through your life. I know that I still have really, really strong friends from my PLS class, and they're friends. They're not just SMPS friends. They're people I can turn to for anything. So we're really hoping that we challenged ourselves when we started this year to always put ourselves in the attendee's shoes and look at PLS from their experience side and not just what we wanted to give them. And I think we've accomplished that. I think you guys are going to be very excited and have a great time in Alexandria in 4 weeks. So that's really all I wanted to say. I started the first webinar by thanking everybody for doing this, and I want to echo that again. Thank you so much for raising your hand, for volunteering, for agreeing to be leaders in your chapters and leaders in this organization. We couldn't do it without you. I'm really excited to meet all of you in 4 weeks in Alexandria, and I just can't wait to get out there. So we'll see you then. I'll turn it back to Tina.
Okay. Well, thank you for those final words, and that is it. We're going to see you at PLS, and as Brad said, we are very excited to see all of you. It's going to come quickly, and we know you're going to have a great experience. So that ends our presentation. We'll end it from here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
I can't wait.
Thank you, guys. See you in Alexandria. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.